welcome Free Enterprise to another match today for the Adamant Cup group round. Yeah, it's another seed, another day. And I'm joined with my co-commentator Rybon, who say hi to everyone, Rybon.
Well, hey everyone. I am thrilled to be here because we are here at, it's the first weekend of the Adamant Cup. The tournament is in full swing. We have 15 races today, some that have already fired, some that are about to fire, this one right here, and even more later tonight. So we have a full night of free enterprise for everyone. But this race is directly in front of us, and I am here for it. microKorgs versus ULTROS Professional, a race in the Dragoon Helm group, the second race of that group so far this tournament, and it's a bit of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, both runners have had some previous experience, both in ZZ4, that another 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 series that they both participated in. microKorgs moved pretty far into it. I don't remember which round. ULTROS not so far, but still, they both competed, and so not new to racing in these tournaments.
Yeah, that's true. ZZ4, both of these runners competed. I believe it was ULTROS Professional's first tournament. I remember playing against them in the qualifiers. microKorgs had significant success in ZZ4, however, made it all the way to the Final Four before running into a brick wall called Pancras. But still, a heck of a run for Korgs, and both of these very well experienced, very well situated runners, and preparing for this tournament coming up. ULTROS Professional as well, I believe. She is a Pink Puff, competed in our Pink Puff League this second season, I believe, finishing top 10 in that particular league. So could actually, I think, has a decent shot against Korgs, who I believe is maybe a little out of practice right now. Haven't seen him streaming too much, so unless he's been practicing incognito, this could be a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, should be interesting. Should be competitive, and with an edge start. So yeah, we'll be looking for a lot of Konzo Steel, and with given the objectives, a lot of fun objectives. At least a guaranteed moon trip for sure. For we need the vitamin Crystal Sword Altar and the Giant of Babel. The rest, well, can't see the last objective, but that's okay. Where it's another vanilla altar. So I think, at least from seeds I've rolled, I think we might, if there are moon key items on the moon, they probably will be likely to be amongst a chain from one of the moon objectives, particularly the altars. Not so much the giant, because giant only results in a character check, which we will promptly ignore.
Yep, and I'm really excited about that 8 ounces of heavy cream, but 32 ounces of chicken broth seems like a little much to me. Starting partner Edward, we have a mom bomb waiting for us here at Baron 1, and I don't believe our starting key item was a key item.
Defense sword's still a solid weapon for a Kane or Cecil. I don't, or Dart if we find CPU and we don't, or a Demist that we don't like to take a look at. I'm not think given the flag set, we'll probably find one or the other. If we don't, it's still usable. So I'm not. I think we're probably going to see some early checks. Yeah, go straight to a Troya castle and go to Bedward and see what the key item tells us what to do, if it does.
So I've been playing a lot of asyncs of this particular flag set leading up to the tournament, and the meta has been morphing quite a bit. It was often just head straight to Eblin, but now we're seeing a lot more of this heading straight to Bedward, getting that free key item, looting the public treasury here in Troya. And there's a lot of advantages to doing this. I mean, the public treasury, you can spike something rather nice from there, a power shirt, a ninja sword, something like that for edge. Same time, you can also spike just items that are decent for selling, should you find something that you can buy here in Troya shops. So it's interesting to see how we are seeing the meta of this particular tournament just morph in front of our own eyes. But we see both of these racers take this route.
Yeah, well, I think it's a convenience check. You're already here. You're gonna pick up essentially nine items right off the bat. So you don't even. So you skip Dempsey and probably you don't have. I mean, you don't have to. I think you want the key items will dictate whether you get underground access or even, which is probably more important in terms of the kind of the value of the treasure chests as T. Welders is on. So given the area, you want the area benefits from being would be considered more a difficult location in the game. And it looks like we're just going straight to Eblin because hey, the loot is good, and if you have to reset, then whatever. Just we'll come back. We'll kind of keep it in the back of our mind and check at least clear out one section or two before either of having a womp or avoiding it for at least for a brief moment.
So a little bit of divergence here. We do have Korgs heading straight to Eblin Castle, which is a very popular looting spot early game, especially for that edge, as you mentioned. You could pick up many nice items for him to start off. However, Ultra Professional, she decided to check the shops in Troya, picked up a few vampires there, and now checking that package that both of our runners received from Bedward. And I believe that is a Porum right there. Apparently nothing that is of too much interest to Ultras.
I mean, Porum, not something to get excited over. It was if it was like a Rosa or restricted characters, Cecil and Fu in this flag set, I could understand that. No one gets excited over a Porum unless Porum is your only white mage, and then you'd probably reconsider your actions. So right now, I would not get excited, and and Ultros feels the same way. So I don't not surprised. It's okay. We can pick up. Ultros is going to see what's on Hobbs for the character, and that happens to be its pal, the other twin.
Yep, makes the Porum a little more attractive because it gets you access to early twin magic, but I doubt that it is worth the time and the trouble to head on over, back, and sit through that package cutscene. Just takes way too long, even though twin magic is powerful early on, it fades relatively quickly. Korgs, however, is done over in Eblin Castle. Looted Central Tower, Western Tower, and only a portion of Eastern Tower. Found a lot of nice items, a glass hat I noticed, a power shirt, plenty of items to get Edge going. He'll be checking his package character here, and likely will be resetting out as well. Meanwhile, Ultra Professional, through that Hobbs boss check, now has a fantastic power shirt in addition to a black mage to keep his party company.
I mean, this is at that moment that you hope for the spoon on Edward, and that the second power shirt might be put into play, or we'll just we'll yeet Edward, get another character if the spoon doesn't fall into their laps. It doesn't. I mean, there's no very. You probably want to keep Edward to the last minute until you actually have to yeet Edward. So this is Porm being one of those characters, which is fair enough. But you want to find another solid berserker that will live long enough to get to the next command input.
Yep, absolutely. Berserkers tend to be the go-to on this particular flag set, at least based on my experience and based on races I've watched. So yeah, Edge is a solid Berserker. If you can find a second solid Berserker and a source of Berserk, whether it's Bacchus Wines or a White Mage, you can pretty much get through almost anything in the seed. We're seeing Korgs decided to pretty much follow Ultra Professional's footsteps. Checked that package, wasn't interested. Checked up here on Mount Hobbs, found Pelham and said, yeah, good enough for me. And he is through that fight. We'll check to see if he checks that chest to the south and finds a second power shirt or not. Meanwhile, Ultra's taking over Antlion and finding something that looks like an Antlion but isn't quite.
Yep, some squid. Who doesn't love this squid? Doesn't talk, not Ultros, but it's still squid. So does not like lightning, and should be taken care of pretty quickly after using J items because J items make the early game really much quicker run. You don't want to be held up at at an early spot, unless you find something like a Golbez or a Val. No, you don't want to see them. So anytime you get J JJ Adams. Oh, here's the spoon. Can't quite eat that Edward. In fact, might actually keep him around.
No, so that second power shirt has found a new owner, at least. That one power shirt that ULTROS have will likely go on Edward in this situation. Korg will be very happy to find that spoon. His Edward is going to be rocking a power shirt as well, likely a glass hat too that he had found in Evelyn Castle, providing that Edward quite a bit more resist off defense to the point where he'll be able to take a couple blows and carry the day in regards to offense. It's not often that you start with two Edwards, Edge and Edward the Bard, and Edward steals the spotlight, not actually Edge, but we're in interesting times.
Yeah, I think the thing about Edge compared to a lot of I would say Edge if from vanilla weapons would be the second strongest of all of them, maybe unless Yang gets to level 99, which we will probably not see that happen. So what the Edge has a bigger weapon dependency than Cecil. Into Cecil can, even if you are limited to with not getting an X-Cal or the Crystal Sword, Edge requires two weapons, not one, to kind of be at par just on it. And usually you would do a lot more looting and the occasional shopping, try to find at least a long sword. A ninja sword will be available in shops, at least in the underground, where the damage from the weapons gets amplified quickly as Edge scales when his strength grows far faster than any other character.
Yep, absolutely. Now we're seeing over here on ULTROS' side, she is heading on over to, or has headed on over to Castle Evelyn. Will be taking care of looting there and likely reaching looting parity with microKorg. So that second power shirt, that glass hat that Korgs had found earlier, that advantage is about to dissipate. Korgs, however, will take a little bit of a lead in regards to the checks that, or key item checks. We'll be heading up to Fubul from here. We'll likely get through this fight. I can't really think of anything that's going to challenge him with the spoon word this early. So Korgs is likely in a slight lead, but ULTROS could potentially try to spike a trap chest here, pull something really, really nice like an adamant armor, and take a bit of a power advantage. We'll figure out if she does that here.
Considering getting the spoon on Edward this early, you might be actually tempted. Like for me, I would think of trying to say have a Tele, but Edge, have a decent hope for decent weapons and to power through most of them. I think if you have enough power early on, then you would almost want to do a full loot, because you could just you essentially make one trip instead of making two trips to clean up the entire place. So that might be the thinking here. You have a spoon word, and you can try at least attempt to power through this.
Well, that is what she is trying to do. Darting here doesn't trigger the charm from the Lamia, and Spoonword is perfectly fine in regards to taking care of the Black Cat. So this trap chest looks like it's going to be taken care of quite handily by ULTROS, and if we spike something really nice, ULTROS could actually be in the lead.
Yeah, especially the time if you get an early adamant, you essentially gain a lot of time just by just cutting down time from doing other things like say Ogo, where probably the Edward at this point might be able to one-shot it. Probably not. Oh, there's
speaking. Did you say early adamant?
There's early adamant, and you know where it goes on Spoonword, because until the Edge gets two weapons, and I think the Edge is on claws, which really it's not very appealing. It's actually I think we can just let Spoonword do the work until Edge gets the weapons. I mean, it's okay. Edge will do something. I mean, Edge will contribute. It's a matter of when. I wouldn't worry about that.
So this is a very interesting situation. Korgs did Fubul defense, got that Darkness Crystal, so of course the Darkness Crystal or Fubul defense is required. That's great and all, but that adamant is a game changer. The earlier you find it, and the longer you have it before your opponent finds it, the greater and greater the advantage compounds. Ultros is going to be just tearing through all of this early game checks. If Korgs find anything remotely challenging, and it takes him like 2-3 minutes to get through a fight up here on Ordeals or over in Baron Inn, Ultros will be through it in about 30 seconds. So this is a huge equalizer. Sure, Korgs may be up a check, but Ultros is going to make up that ground extremely quickly here.
Yeah, I think the possible game changer is if Ultros fades Fabul, and that the Moon character is like a Fu or Cecil. That might equalize. At least the Fu would more likely because Fu would kind of cure what ails this team a bit. You get the healing and you get the nuke. Will still take some time. And spells will be randomized, so the chances of getting nuke early is lower until more bosses are killed. And Ultra's taking the I want to see what's on Mount Ordeals. That's again, which is a valid choice, even though Fu or Cecil have not, Tella or Cecil have not appeared yet in the seed. So, well, at least we'll go for the key item. Hope, and I guess that's what we're looking for at the moment.
What a stupid place to put a wall. I mean, it's literally a bridge. Why would you build a wall on a bridge? Well, it's gone now, so that's taken care of. But yeah, two swings to take out a 3,000-ish HP boss this early, like just tearing through this Mount Ordeals. Here's D-Mist. It's probably not going to get to Mist phase. Two swings from Edward, and this D-Mist is going to be toast.
Yes, two swings from Edward. Don't think you get to say that much often especially this early, where early Spoon was already online. I mean, what more could you ask for a free enterprise seed? And we find that we have Moon, not Mop, but so Moontella still very valuable at this time. I mean, you need utility mage gets you the grind if you need it, and I probably take a look at the shop before going back and see and continue on the checks on the overworld.
Sure. So, like you said, we wanted to find, or Korgs wanted to find a Fu up here. Instead, found Diet Fu, and half the calories, or none of the calories, but only half the utility, unfortunately. Meanwhile, but that will push Korgs likely toward Ordeals, where Ultros Professional finds an Earth Crystal. So if you didn't have enough loot, we're going to find even more in that treasury, most likely. And I wouldn't be surprised with the amount of power that Ultros has behind that Adamant Spoon word, that she heads straight up Tower of Zot. One is an objective, but two is two gated character checks. Sure, you have Adamant Spoon word, and he is fantastic, but he doesn't have a lot of HP, and there are some fights that Adamant will not get you through. So you may want to flesh out your party a little more. Find a Fu, find a Rosa, find a Cecil, find a Kane to deal with a pesky Valvalis somewhere. And with two character checks behind Zot, you are very much incentivized to head up there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the Zot check will be invaluable. Hoping to certainly round off the characters. I think what really aim for is anything better than a Porum for a healer. So I mean, obviously not having done Fabul, not having Darkness Crystal, not having the Tella, you really want a dedicated white mage, ideally. With even if you could swap out Palom for a Berserker, that would certainly be worth being on the table. And just the character checks, I think in this flag set are probably more valuable than trying to say do early Atline before Mount Hobbs. I think the characters, you want to figure out your party first and then kind of settle on something and maybe get a swap later on, maybe on the underground dwarf castle check. But that'd be the worst case, latest possible swap to happen.
Yeah, normally you'd want to try to get your party set as quickly as possible. And like you suggest, I do try to prioritize character checks, as I think Ultros is going to be doing here as well, heading up Zot. But it's time for everybody's favorite game. We have a treasury to rate.
Rate that treasury. I'm not sure if it's being played, but that's okay. It's a great theme, and taking a look at the loot, oh, it's a bonanza of good stuff to throw, to equip, to yeet. I mean, come on. It's and the boss that everyone doesn't want to see, inventory boss, will show up because loot goblins come with a loot boss, and inventory boss doesn't like your presence. So quickly pick up 8 things you don't want, eat them, and then equip all the equip the new stuff, dump them quickly as you can. Ideally, you can sell them for some quick cash. That would be helpful too.
Yeah, so that treasury, pretty good. I'd say 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 maybe. 2 Zeus gauntlets. Unfortunately, Edward being a grown man, can't equip them. That's too bad. Edge can. We did also get two weapons for Edge. A full moon allowing us to back row him, and a ninja sword, which is, pretty good outcome. And an Avenger. So in case we ever find a Kain or a Cecil, that is Kain's ultimate weapon and Cecil's third best weapon, in my opinion. So we will see if we get any use out of those pieces of equipment. And we're going to pet the Flame Doggo over here on ULTROS' side.
Flame Dog. The thing we look for when we look for Zot, at least if you're looking for loot, it's a pretty good chance. You only have one opportunity. You smack it. Hope for, oh hey, more Hans of Steel. So now Edge is practical, or if not already online, even more, will be even better. I mean, Edge just getting good loot. I mean, who doesn't? When you don't have to worry about Edge anymore, it's a good time.
Yep, Edge is almost best in slot. Probably just need maybe a second Moss Immune and an adamant armor of his own, but with that power shirt, that Edge is also a force to be reckoned with. And this seed is just screaming at ULTROS right now. Berserker strats, Berserker strats, Berserker strats, and hopefully we get a source of Berserk sooner rather than later.
So skimming the inventory, yeah, we see the cursed ring. So when a microKorgs will probably do the same thing, having gotten the earth crystal. So we'll probably pretty much reuse the Tella that was picked up, and he will eventually be the anchor of the seed, unless we find someone better. Maybe a food replace the Tella, then anchor that and make Fu the anchor instead. But we'll see if even Fu shows up in the seed. Right now, we're the kind of like the power level of the berserkers. They will have a fun time destroying anything, and Avenger will get there if we find Tessis or Kain. Looks like the antline did not make its trip to the moon. Today it's in Zot.
This is an awkward place for ULTROS right now. Antline will die in about 4 swings from Eddie here. However, the counters are not protected by the adamant armor. So Edward, despite having very high defense, is vulnerable.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried though. Not the damage is, even though it's kind of scaled by the attack power of the character, the magic, the attack, essentially the spell damage, not quite so high, but still it's not enough to avoid the casts. It's not perfect. I mean, even if you get a magic evasion multiplier, it's like what, out of even if it's in a generous like 20-25%, that's still 75% is gonna still hit. So it's not as threatening as it would first look. You just need to hope as long as you have the healing, it's not gonna one shot him. So it's taken down pretty quickly because Spoon Word cures many things. Power overwhelming does cure some of what ails this team.
And we have our white mage, second best white mage in the game, I believe, Rosa. I'd say Fu is probably the first best. We have a Lunar Sparkle waiting for us at Dwarf Castle 2. It will remain a mystery as to which one of those will be waiting for us at that particular location, but it won't be Ogopogo. And let's see who our second character is up here on Zot. Regardless, I think we're seeing some party changes for ULTROS.
Well, Punch Mage it is. I'm not too sure that the Punch Mage is going to come on board, but Rosa, that's a sure. That's a sure yes. Looks like a no. Well, we did. Oh, just didn't want the Thunderclaw. Oh, well, okay. That's a free Thunderclaw too. I mean, pretty useful, but okay. Anyways, the picking up the Rosa makes the most sense. I mean, Rosa is the tankiest of all the white mages available. I would call her number one, but I mean, Fu is certainly a good one because once he gets all this magic, you don't have to worry about not having the magic available, outside of not having enough MP. And we'll take a look at what the Val spot has. Oh, it's yeah, more undead.
Well, luckily, it's free. At least, free with the amount of power that ULTROS has, so nothing to worry about here. Meanwhile, on Korg's side, he also decided to pet the Flame Doggo today, was rewarded with his Moss Immune. Probably feeling pretty good about himself. Spoonward with a power shirt. He has a fully loaded edge right now with a power shirt as well, Moss Immune, Ninja Sword, Back Road. So, yeah, Korg's likely doesn't feel behind, and in all honesty has done a great job of keeping up with ULTROS Professional despite the adamant armor difference between our two racers this evening. We will see if there's any divergence coming up. Korg still is up a check. He's up over in Fabul. Got that Darkness Crystal, headed up to the moon, found that Tella. ULTROS up these two bosses here in the Tower of Zot, and we'll have her first objective marked off in a few seconds. But yeah, it's a very interesting difference, and yet still seeing how these two racers are merging their routing at this point.
Oh boy, it looks like we might. Are we out of objectives on the Earth? I mean, this means we might have to do a moon dive. This is what it's starting to look like. I mean, we've done pretty much anything that we have direct access to. Package does not lead to anything. I mean, we're not going to take the Porum. Baron Inn. We have probably at this point we're happy with the characters, but that's the last one. But I think this routing is probably because routing Zot into Baron is the thing to do. I mean, you're already you're gonna have to be here anyways. Might as well route that in. So whatever's at Baron Inn is the gate. So it's either a hook or the magma key. I'm sure, at least for us watching this, I think more entertainment will exist with the hook. But magma keys just is also on the table, so we'll see what goes on next.
I mean, I'm all for a tournament where we have flags, where we have can safe on, where we have to potentially do an early moon dive. But sadly, Adamant Cup is not that particular tournament. Regardless, you're right, we have a duplicate edge here waiting for us in Baron Inn. Questionable if you take him or not. I don't think you do, but it'll be interesting to see what our runners do. We do have Baron Inn. This will likely gate, or has to gate, whatever will be our underground access. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a hook or a magma key. We could find a twin harp or something like that. Maybe exactly a twin harp or a Baron key in order to lead to a chain that will eventually get us to underground access. And here we have Rubicon, which will not pose a threat whatsoever to ULTROS. That adamant armor makes this fight completely free, even if you didn't already have that very highly powered edge.
Yeah, this started off with elements, so we don't have to worry about quarter leg and full leg. I mean, we got a quarter and a little more than the quarter we bargained for, and here's the hook, of course, because why not? We get the Rubicon followed by a hook, which means we got to go to do the Rubicon spot on the hook seat on top of on top of everything. I don't having the second edge a little more problematic. I think you got the Masa Ninja Sword. I think the best weapon on the second edge would be a full moon, and unless you find another blade on top of that, my second edge doesn't look appealing. I mean, you already have Spoonward, so second edge doesn't look very appealing.
Now, you're limited to 4 characters on this flag set, and as you might think, I want 3 Berserker, then a White Mage, and I can anchor with the White Mage, and sometimes that'll work. But I just find it easier and I mean, me personally, and I see other people race this way too, but it's easier to have an anchor, a dedicated anchor, two berserkers, and a source of healing if you're going to go berserker strat in this flag set, and that's what we're seeing from Ultras.
Yeah, I think having berserkers simplifies the things you have to worry about. Mages, we haven't. I don't think I've seen too many seeds rolled with mages, but when that happens, it changes a lot of what you have to do. And so berserkers simplify a lot of this. I mean, you just have to. The name gives it away. But if the character's in berserk, you're already ahead of the game.
Now we're in an interesting situation because Ultros is diving this hook route, fading full defense. Full defense could be a magma key. We know it's not. We know it's required because it's a darkness crystal. However, opting to dive this hook route, or potentially maybe just checking the character, we'll find out in a few moments. But that's a bit of a risk to take because we do not have a requirement to launch the Falcon. So this hook route is actually optional, or could be optional.
Well, we have a sealed cave objective, so we need to actually get to the underground. So Ultros is thinking, still the darkness was underground. So but we still have an underground objective, so we might as well just do the hook route. Or if there were no underground objectives, I would then fading it altogether might make sense. But given this that the flag set kind of does more favors completionism. Your objective, whatever it is, not on top of requiring the Luca key for the sealed cave, will probably be underground. Except that darkness isn't. So that what will likely happen is some last locationing of the darkness crystal.
Right, but Ultros doesn't know the darkness crystal is at Fabul. It could be the magma key, or Ultros could have felt really spicy and dived the moon. Maybe there's a magma key up there instead. Save a little bit of time, avoid this hook route. No real reason to, of course. With the amount of power that Ultros have, she's going to get through this hook route with very little difficulty, I'm sure. And it does get a character check for her, and that is a Sid. And that is also Magus Sisters at the Rubicon spot.
That's an interesting spot. I think I'm not so worried about the spell power. Rubicon spot doesn't have that high a magic. Even though Glare is a very strong spell, but the spell multiplier isn't as high as you think. It's just good enough to split a fire to deal these reasonable, not really reasonable. It's kind of like small punchy multi-targeted damage, but I think the more concerning is what could surprise you at the King Queen Emblem spot. Like a rude DKC could make your lives miserable because you don't have quite the HP to absorb all of that. You'd have to hope that something like an Edge would survive it. So I think that the rudest thing right now would be a DKC at that spot. Maybe then probably a few others, but I think especially given it's a punchy spot, it's something that I know Edward has the adamant, but you can't just the rest of your characters might need to be alive.
Well, don't forget about Edward's other special power other than wielding a spoon and wearing adamant armor, but also hiding. So equipped with that adamant armor and having very high agility, along with that cursed ring that both of our runners have found in that treasury, RA1 is very achievable for Edward here. So that DKC, if it happens to be a King Queen Evelyn, won't be too much of a challenge. I can't think of anything right now that is going to push Ultros or like hard block Ultros in this location. Meanwhile, Korgs is deciding to head up Evelyn Castle, is likely going to find his adamant armor, and that advantage is about to evaporate for ULTROS PROFESSIONAL.
Yeah, I think it's up to this point. I don't think the adamant would have. The adamant would have given Ultros the advantage, but it's on Spoonward, and when Spoonward is essentially one-shotting or two-shotting things, then it doesn't. The adamant at this early stage doesn't make that much of a difference. So it seems like the time difference is kind of mitigated a little bit. I mean, we have you would think, yeah, normally having it longer would certainly keep the advantage, but I think the advantage once you're one-shotting everything, and you already have, and you compare it to a power shirt, it's not that much different. Yes, sure, you're doing about what 500, at least 500 less, essentially half a quad HP less damage, 500 HP. That doesn't, it's not as significant, at least up to this point.
Well, if it was, if whether significant or not, it would have been very significant had Korgs not found this adamant armor right here. So now we have complete adamant parity between our two runners. Korgs is up one check, which is full defense. So Korgs is going to march on down this hook route because he's run out of other options unless he wants to dive the moon with adamant armor spoonward, decides not to. So yeah, we have a bit of a race on our hands right now. We'll see. ULTROS will likely be through the hook route first, but Korg is hot on her tail.
Yeah. Oh, Alt Gauntlet at this spot. Who would have thunk it? This spot typically doesn't have any XP, so having Alt Gauntlet here will get you a nice, convenient grind. If you didn't ask for it, well, you're gonna have it. It's okay. If Quake Kit isn't already online, this will get you there, and might be enough to get Rosa to learn Cure 3. For her learning Cure 3 is around level 28. Should be quick enough and usually get you at least well in your way to smashing the underground. As I think that, I mean, having the healing at a whim, especially instead of having a Porm around, is certainly a huge bonus for both our runners.
Yep, this Alt Gauntlet will not prove a challenge whatsoever for either of our runners this evening, and I doubt that Magus Sisters will either. So I fully expect both of them to be underground no later than 40 minutes. This is the power of the adamant armor. This would be a little more of a challenging situation without it, but very good looting choices by both of our runners this evening. They have acquired a significant amount of power at the 30-40 minute mark already, that I can't really think of anything that is going to really get in their way, even in the underground. And there may be some incentive to do an early moon dive for both of them, or just tear through this underground. It'll be very interesting to see which direction they choose.
This is an interesting decision for Korgs to put the adamant on Rosa. Looks like we just, of all things, prioritizing making sure the white mage is always healing and always available. So that's Korg's decision. It's interesting. I mean, certainly it's just as good to keeping Edward powered and not taking a nap and having a spoonward. You don't want naps being taken by the character that's going to do most of the work for you. So I think this is just a decision. We'll see how that pans out. Right now, looks like ULTROS is heading into the Mag Sister battle, while Korgs is dealing with needing more treasure. I guess we'll see how that turns out.
Korgs, I think, will likely put that adamant on Rosa just primarily because he already has 2 power shirts and he's trying to be efficient with his equipment distribution. He doesn't have really a decent or high-powered piece of body armor for Rosa. So this keeps her alive, gets her some levels. He doesn't know he has an Alt Gauntlet grind waiting for him very shortly. So it's throwing out life potions on these mad ogres will potentially get Rosa close to, if not all the way to Berserk, prior to the King Queen Evelyn spot. Also potentially could steal some Bacchus wines here. Appears to opt not to, just wants to kill. And his bloodlust has been sated.
Yeah, definitely don't expect the Alt Gauntlet to show up in the place you least expect, but I think the levels, I don't think it's as valuable, given that you already have essentially power overwhelming this early with the adamant and the power shirts. Yeah, I don't even think the grind is if you want the spells. It's not even the power. You're already, at least up to this point, much more than powerful enough to take on the Rubicon spot with the Magus Sisters. So I assume it's just for the more loot. I mean, maybe just to hope for another adamant. It's hard to say what how comfortable the equipment situation, or maybe I, if it's for the experience, I don't think you're more than enough. You're more than enough, especially with what you have right at the moment. You just power overwhelming is usually good enough to ignore a lot. It's not like the the Meg Sisters are going to do a lot of damage to you, though.
I guess so. But speaking of the Maga Sisters, we have two Maga Sisters down over here on ULTROS' side. Maybe she's going for a little bit of a sister grind? Probably not. Got two very angry Eds over here attacking on the right side, and she is through. And through the hook route at about 37 minutes and 20 seconds. Well done to her.
Yeah, this is it almost looks like it's like a jet seat. This is going pretty quickly, and we have moon access now. Ultros doesn't have the moon access, but technically has the moon access once making the trip to Fobul. I mean, this usually without the adamants, these sometimes hook seed gets you to the like 45-minute hour mark, and this is pretty quick considering what we've seen so far from our runners.
So ULTROS took a quick sidestep there, showed us the boss at the top of tower, which is a King Queen Evelyn. The freest of the free bosses available to us. So tower was probably already free with based on the equipment that we have, but that is even freer. Do you potentially dive up Keyless Tower, check to see if there's anything valuable there, or do you stay here, do your underground checks, maybe find a tower key and try to double dip that?
I think I would do the other things first, almost only because if just most of a convenience. If say the Feymarch had the tower key, then we're gonna make another trip up here. Although there's also a chance that it, and we also, and anytime that you, even though the top tower is free, the climb is quite a bit of time. It's not too bad a climb. It's just a climb. So we're not even bothering with any of the chests. We should be set on loot as far as and the alerts. We'll still drop an adamant, possibly, and I don't think it's at this point is not. There's pretty much no value in looting at this point. We're more than capable of just taking on the boss. I mean, it's a free boss. Oh no, we're still checking. And yeah.
Yeah, the walk is a little long, just a couple minutes. Luckily, ULTROS did toss a save on the outside, so if nothing comes from this particular location, perfectly fine. Reset out, don't have to worry about the top of tower nagging you in the back of your head as you clear the remainder of the underground. But yeah, this is an interesting decision. Find the White Spear, nice little dart, don't have a cane, probably don't want a cane at this point. A sub-power Berserker compared to what we already have. And we will get a check of what is the key item up here at the top of tower, because I think this is the more unorthodox play. So if you do spike something that you need, if you find your Luca key, if you find Part of Forge, if you find your Baron key, you're feeling pretty good. You may actually feel pretty ahead of your opponent, because your opponent likely won't do something like this.
Yeah, it's not a typical play because it's not as appealing. But since it's free, you might as well do it. It makes sense in the sense that it's free, and I mean, there's the worst case of a tower key is it's literally in the same tower you get it from. So if the tower key is literally at the spot, then ULTROS is ahead because whatever could be behind the super cannon spot that you'd use the tower key on might give you, say, Luca key or the pan that you will probably need. So depending on what the outcome can determine how much time gained or lost from the check itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Pan would be like almost best case scenario. Another key item getting you closer toward 10 allows you to single dip that Sylph Cave, and also lets you single dip Fobul, because ULTROS again has not done Fobul defense and have not yet found her Darkness Crystal as a result.
Yeah, the thing about Fobul is you're on average going to double dip because you're going to do the full defense, and then hope that you get the pan somewhere else, come back, and Rat Tail, which not required, but will gate another check. So what the resulting chain of the Rat Tail could still be valuable, but we're still ending up having to double dip this tower, at least for Ultros. That might not be the same for Korgs, but we'll see what the result is. If the rat tail turns into the tower key, then required double dipping of Zot might will be hard required. Could go either way.
Yep, so that rat tail is what I like to call Schrodinger's go mode. We don't know what it is, but we can go turn it in. We'll find out momentarily. I think Ultros will likely route it in sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, Korgs is through his hook route, completed at about 41:30. So a few minutes behind Ultros right now. Still up that check in for Bull, but that advantage is going to... It's not as vast as one may think. I think it's still a pretty even race at the moment between our two racers. And we'll see if Korgs decides to head straight up. He does not. We have our second point of divergence. Fabul up Fabul for Korgs and up top of tower for Ultros.
Yeah, I think I don't. Oh no, we're not. Oh, this is the saves coming. If what Rat Tail turns out to be for Ultros not what we're looking for, then we're gonna reset and come back for the key item check at Fey March. I think that makes sense. I mean, you don't want to waste time figuring out the check. Although depending on what you get as the key item, say it's a Sand Ruby per se, not the most useful, but not useful key item, but it will get you to your key item, your 10 key items for double XP. That would still be worth saving, depending on how you feel at the time. I mean, this is not all key items are worth the same, especially depending on the race. And it's music, not required, but could be part of another chain. So this chain is still going.
The rabbit hole goes even deeper, and so must we. This gets dangerous for Ultros right now. The advantage will either compound or dissipate entirely as a result, because the longer this chain goes, if there is no value at the end of it, then Ultros has wasted quite a bit of time chasing it. However, if there is value at the end of this, if there is a Baron key, then Ultros has a gigantic advantage, because Korgs and many other racers may wait until they find that tower key, which could be buried somewhere on the moon, before heading up the tower, because that is the most efficient play.
I think I missed what was I don't think it was an important key item at
the Image freebie?
Yeah, but
that
we have
be second Masamune.
Yeah, that's yay. So we didn't have to worry about Edge after all. Maybe second Edge could. No, Spoonword's fine. But we have like essentially the weirdest Baron couple, Odin and Baigen. And Baigen, I think, was at the king spot, so that is not a fun spot, especially because it punches hard, punches way over where it should be, but because since that spot doesn't punch normally, is not balanced at all. So doing this early Odin is I guess is worth the XP if not a good dart. But we'll see if Korgs will think of doing the Baigen spot. I think it should be more. It should be enough, especially when Edward's. We can back row glitch Edward. If this were brackets, the spoon wouldn't be as effective in the back. Well, we put it in front. But it does still punches pretty hard, and will still get through some of the defenses of the Adamant. I mean, that it punches. It's not something you just treat lightly.
It does punch, but something else that hits pretty hard is the music that we're about to hear over on ULTROS PROFESSIONAL side. So Edward's Heart music is randomized. We will hear one of multiple hundreds of songs that have been remixed by Moonblade Wolf, by Calamity, and we are going to... I'm sorry, Xenocat, not Moonblade's my apologies. And we are going to be treated to one of those right now, so time for us to quiet up. And we are through 3 floating orbs at Cave Magnes, and let's find out where this chain takes us.
This is a huge womp. Oh, that's not what you're looking for. And also, that Quake didn't do much damage because it's Dark Elf is one of the few boss bosses that have high magic defense. Quake not high enough. It at best does triple digit damage, which doesn't it's something. And oh, this is the thing. Oh, but the tower key at Baigen. Oh, this is. But that doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily mean it leads. It could be. It might be that Korgs might actually fall into the same rabbit hole, depending on what is decided from. But we'll have to see what the result of the super cannon room is. But it is possible that Korgs might also fall in the same rabbit hole, based on, given that the optional tower, at least the top of the tower, is not what we want.
No, the keyless tower dive, unfortunately, while I love the play, didn't pay out here. Korgs is going to chase up this tower key, as we're seeing right now. We'll only make one trip up the tower. Sure, the super cannon room, the tower key check may result in nothing, and Korgs may very well also fall into the same rabbit hole that ULTROS Professional did, and end up with, unfortunately, just a Dragoon Spear for their troubles. But regardless, one trip up the tower versus 2, that's an advantage for Korgs in this situation.
Yeah, I think the not having to double dip is certainly going to be the benefit. I think it might be interesting what if this actually turns into key item, because I think ultimately we're still looking for a Baron key and a sealed cape and the Luca key. So from a racing standpoint, it makes sense to check, because you think there's something, the key item that's gating another might be the case. But right now it's only right now we only know the upper half will be the certain disappointment. Lower half we're totally guessing here. We don't even know. I mean, the chances of the gated item more likely to be on the moon would slowly increase as our key items current distribution so far suggests that there's probably going to be a key item on the moon from the required checks that we have, if it's not on the moon itself.
ULTROS is saying, took one look at that Feymarch and said, no, thank you. Checking out Sheila 1 instead. So we'll not find that Excal behind that Odin. We'll not find that tower key behind that Baigen. So we'll not be hitting up the tower for a second time. Very interesting. So that actually could be a very good play, a very good outcome for ULTROS if once Korgs gets to the bottom of the tower and we see what that key item is, if it is anything. If it ends up being nothing, then ULTROS just saved a lot of time, not having to double dip the tower, and not having to do Feymarch. This is interesting how the divergence and just knowing what we know versus what the racers actually know. It's just really interesting to see how these decisions are being made in real time.
Yeah, just the things that you do or don't do certainly change what you do, what your kind of resulting decisions are. So if say it's one of those, if you knew, then you would do the X, but since you don't know, you do Y. It's just it kind of boils down to that. So looking at that, I think we're checking, or we're doing the full bull check right now. We're doing Sheila 1 and doing the football battle. We'll see. But on top of keeping the hovercraft ready when we need the pink tail, if we get one. At least in on the overworld, and then the surprise will happen once after completion of the football battle.
And not only that, but by moving that hovercraft, ULTROS reset out of that twin harp check, understandably. Reset all the way back to the Feymarch. But by doing so, have not actually turned into the Pinktail, did not actually hold on to that twin harp. Now the twin harp, for the purpose of the check, not very important. We know that it's just a Dragoon Spear, we don't really care about that. But you still want your 10th key item for double XP, and you'd like to actually get 10 key items before you get to the moon, if at all possible. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see ULTROS head on back down there sooner rather than later, turn that Pinktail once she gets to 9 key items to get that even 10 to accelerate her grind.
She hasn't gotten the pink tail yet. It's the rat tail. We can still get back the twin harp for the extra key item. That one goes into nothing. So let's find out what Korgs gets. Korgs picks up the pan. Oh boy, the pan, not the yeah. So this is interesting. If the pan doesn't actually do anything, we'll see what Sheila 1 gives you. And today Sheila has the Sheila has the funny business.
So another key item, not very useful, of course, because we had to do the hook route. So that means it was good that neither of our runners decided to dive the moon prior to the hook route. That magma key was not hiding up there. But this is potentially worst case scenario for ULTROS. That tower key is leading to 2 additional key item checks, one of which could be something required. Protect Ring, not so much. So if Sheila 2 bears fruit, then ULTROS is in a little bit of a pickle.
It's I'm just gonna gamble here and think Sheila 2 gives up nothing. Like I'm thinking both lower Babel checks are just a fool's play. It's a double black hole, double hole rabbit hole. Like this, it could be if what Sheila 2 turns out to be nothing, it's a double black hole. It's not gonna be. It's just how the seeds are rolled. It's yeah. That's well, at least an ULTROS is doing unlocking the whale, because yes, it's probably time to go to the moon. There's nothing really on ULTROS side to do, and because what's left is very likely being gated by existing required objectives that will require at least a decent LST dive.
Yes, well, one of the maxims of this particular community and raising free enterprise is to do your objectives. So we have multiple objectives up there on the moon. We have the Crystal Sword Altar and White Spear Altar, both of which are key item granting locations. Also objectives, finding something that chains into a requirement there, something we call a dirty double. And I've seen a lot of dirty doubles on this particular flag set. Sheila 2 gave up a Sand Rupee, by the way. So Korgs is at 10 key items, or will be very shortly upon turning into this rat tail, has double XP, and is going to have a very highly level party before too long, especially after completing that Giant of Babel.
There's a pretty high chance that Korgs is gonna do definitely gonna do Harp, and then Zonk reset immediately after finding out it's not what we're looking for. So right now, outside of both checks being Zonks, in the Tower of Lower Babel, we might actually get something decent. But this still gets Korgs ahead in terms of key items, and that's the kind of advantage. Oh, this is worth the time to turn in. I mean, not a complete Zonk, worth trading up your kind of micro foo into actual foo. So yeah, anytime you can upgrade, it's a good time as any.
Fu is a very good pickup here. Because you do have the curse ring, Fu can easily become your anchor. He starts at 20 agility. He stays 20 agility for the remainder of the game, no matter how many levels you give him. As long as you don't go above 70, but who that? So Fu's fantastic, brings all the utility of Tella and more. Keeping Rosa around, she could fill in as a third Berserker. She could fill in as just another Berserk caster, but she is very versatile, much more versatile than Diet Fu Tella. So not surprised to see him take a little vacation off to the Tower of Wishes right now.
Yeah, I mean, Fu is also instant offense with the nuke. So you have two berserkers, occasional nuke, and essential healer. That's probably all you really need for a Z. And that's a good time to use. Surprisingly kept a Soma drop to essentially the very last moment. Hey, we could use it on upgraded Tella for even more magic. So it's usually if you get a Soma drop, you're gonna probably try to use it on Tella early. But I mean, saving it to the kind of moment. Hey, I got the upgrade. It's a good time as any to use it. I guess if you didn't really need the magic, as Tella for Korgs was going to be the anchor, why not? Good time as any.
So we've seen a lot of divergence between our two runners. Korgs has done a few checks, Fey March and Tower Key, whereas ULTROS is now eschewing those positions, deciding to do a little bit of an egg grind. She acquired a few sirens up in a shop, and now she is down here killing eggs, getting a bit of XP. May potentially be gearing up to do that Fey March. Maybe have not felt confident enough in her party in order to handle that particular situation. So that's what I would expect here. Or she could be preparing for a full moon dive.
It's got to be a full moon dive. I mean, you have three moon objectives. Technically, while the giant is not a moon objective, it's dependent on the darkness crystal. You might as well be a moon boss. It's not, even though not actually labeled a moon boss. Still, that's you're. I mean, the alternative would be just trying to do a D machine grind. If you're knowing that you want to giant, do it there, and then completing the giant as soon as you're done, which would route in a bit more efficiently. But but this is the time again where we are getting more harp, and there it is.
Yep, Edward needs to steal the spotlight, so once again, time for us to quiet up a bit, and for another rendition of Final Fantasy IX at the South Gate. So y'all enjoy. And Korgs it through will receive his disappointing Dragoon Spear, I'm sure. We'll see if we get a reset, or if he decides to exit it out and just keep it as a dart. Reset out. Don't blame you whatsoever. Meanwhile, ULTROS has decided to just ignore Fey March, heading down the moon. We know this is actually the right move. You don't get anything of value from the Fey March bosses, more key items, which is great. But ULTROS probably feels pretty confident in her levels, having done those eggs, and will likely find progression up here.
So I think the routing, even though the looks like Korgs is doing Dwarf Castle, is kind of holding out for maybe vanilla Luca Key. We'll see if that happens. I think the routing would be different for Korgs than Ultros. Like Ultros is going to do a full clear. This is because you're going to get the XP, you're going to get, and this is a free water hag, and that's great. Korgs is more likely, at least our writing, you would think, hey, do you do the White Spear altar, do go next door because you have the double XP, do Ribbon and hope for the key items to be there, and then maybe skip the Ogo spot and then go straight to Crystal Sword altar. Essentially more of a bottom-up approach. Ultros is doing the top-down approach, so this is probably going to be followed by Crystal Sword altar into White Spear altar, and then if the key items are not there, followed by the ribbon altar, because 2 key items, those are more valuable than the single altars, which will only hold 1 key item.
Yep, and Ultros finds Pay Dirt, Baron Key, hard required from that Murasame altar, so the top down is paying off for her. That Baron Key, of course, could also spiral into other required key items. 2 key item checks behind Baron, one from Liberating the Castle, one from the Odin Throne. Could very well find Olive Forge there, could find Luca into Forge. So I doubt she's certainly not going to leave the moon right now. She has more objectives up here, of course, but could be tempted to leave the moon after completing those objectives and chasing that Baron Key.
Yeah, I think Korgs is more likely to kind of, I would guess from the LST, if Korgs goes for a not for a like a clean out of LST, the bottom up approach is going to likely happen, which also means that the Baron Key would be last locationed. So it depends. We'll see how Korgs routes it, but it would, at least from the outset, from what we know and what he knows, that routing bottom up it counts as another kill, because the life potion depends on the vitality of the target it's used on. Monsters do not have any vitality, so 0 times whatever you multiply against is still 0, causing it to kind of result as a revive and a kill. And that's effectively what we saw. There's like essentially 5 Dark Elements kills and a really nice XP boost because of that.
Yep, so when I said, 500,000 XP, I meant, let's make it 600,000 XP, 625,000 XP. Regardless, that's a lot of experience points for Korgs. Korgs is in great shape right now, and will be done with this objective in a relatively short amount of time. Ultros, meanwhile, finds the Angry Dragon God over in the White Spear altar. Rather high magic here, so reflecting the Mega Nuke right on back to Bahamut's face, and we'll be done with that objective. So that is 3 objectives complete, with 2 more made available to Ultros. No, 3 more made available to Ultros right now. She is just looking for Forge at the moment.
It's kind of probably whatever is resulting from, if it's not on the moon, it's resulting from, say, Baron Castle basement throne. I mean, it could be anywhere. I mean, right now, look, the seed is hinting, at least it's hinting, is that whatever's left will have the key items you need, at least based on essentially the complete. Although looks like Ultros has decided that's enough. We'll look at because there's a lot more key items that she needs to complete the seed, and having that, I guess we're banking on having the Baron Key and the Luca Key to have pieces of the Forge, I guess. We know that Feymarch, fortunately, is required for the Adamant, so that will whatever those key items will only go so far.
So this is a huge gamble by Ultros, and I'm here for it. Knowing what we know, you're right, the Adamant is behind Dwarf Castle, meaning the only thing Ultros needs is a Legend Sword. And there are plenty of checks she did not do here on Earth. She didn't do Feymarch, we know it's not there, but you're right, it could be behind the Baron Key, it could be behind the Luca Key. Those are 3 key item checks right there. If it had the Legend Sword, she is skipping a lot of potential checks up there on the moon. She didn't do cave value, she didn't do the ribbon room, she didn't do the moth immune altar. She could actually save a lot of time by taking this gamble, and we will see if it pays off for her.
Yeah, it's a interesting routing, to be sure. I mean, on the tracker, Harp was done, even though, yes, we picked it up, reset it out of it. We know it's in terminal, to be, on the, at least in the back of, someone in your mind, you're wondering, maybe the tower key might lead to something. And I think wasn't Pan one of the other part of the chain, right? From the lower tower babble that will also be in the back. Like those are potential chains that are not, like, essentially unvisited, and we know they're not required. But it's sometimes when you have key items that are kind of normally be chained to something, those you get concerned. It's like you're hoping to get one of them, and Korgs has the knowledge, because getting all those additional key items, which are not required, but accelerating the XP growth, it kind of changes them. And certainly certainly worthwhile, as yes, no one wants to visit LST again. So this is, and I think, and as long as Legend isn't on, say, Ribbon Room or Ogo spot, we should be fine.
Yep, Ultros likely is taking a gamble here. We've seen Ultros take a number of gambles on the scene already. Faded that football defense before going underground to the hook route, leading three moon altars and 4 key item checks up on the moon to chase these objectives, hoping for pay dirt here on Earth. She knows that, she ran in ZD4 just like Korgs did. She knows that Korgs went very, very far and is a highly regarded runner in the community, whereas Ultros also a very good runner, but newer, a little more inexperienced, and maybe feel that she needs to take a few more gambles in order to keep up with someone with the amount of experience that Korgs has. So I am very, this is showing a lot of maturity on Ultros' part, and by taking these gambles could very well pull off the win in a very, very impressive amount of time.
I think I missed the Cecil trade, and we haven't even. I think we've gotten Excal, but we don't have the. And I think it's probably just good as well as not. Crystal Sword is better burr, but Excal is good enough burr, and I think that's. But having having the edge for that long, I guess it's worth it. I think, given the indirect grind from what is left on the lunar subterranean, probably might get Cecil to, say, like level 40, and then that I'm not sure how much XP this is going to bound onto, but probably more than enough to call it a day. So I guess we'll see if that trade up for Cecil will be worth it.
Well, Cecil's not going to do a whole lot here, but Rhoda should be able to secure 4 off, and the party will be fine. Probably throw a life potion on Cecil as well to ensure that he gets XP. I like the play that Korgs made here. Yes, Edward is great. I love Spoonward just like everyone else, but his HP growth is just so low. Cecil is not just a powerhouse that hits for a ton of damage with an Excalibur or a Crystal Sword, but also is survivable. That adamant armor is great, but that adamant armor isn't going to protect you from unnerved big bangs, which can, rear their ugly head. So Korgs gets a ton of XP here on Cecil. He won't be level 40 just yet, but he will be after that White Spear altar. Meanwhile, Ultros is making the right play. She is heading on down to Dwarf Castle, doing one of the last few checks she has down here in the underground. Will be rewarded with her adamant armor, and she will be 1 key item from Go mode.
I think this is more of a convenience check. You're already here in the underground. You might as well try to clean up, like do this, then probably follow up with Fey March bosses. And then probably convert, put in the tower key for the for what remains, what is remaining. I think that's at least once you do the moon dive, you might as well, finish up what's left, because you're still chasing key items, and this is a kind of like a heavy kind of key item search, and this search with a lot of rabbit hole with deep rabbit holes, not necessarily many, but deep rabbit holes, will kind of slow our runners down a little bit.
Well, ULTROS has already hit one dirty double. She did the Crystal Sword Altar, was rewarded with that Luca key. She may continue chasing her objectives. I know this is a little out of character for that particular role, but she could very well go chase that Baron key, find the Legend Sword up there, and we'll be pretty happy if she does. But let's hope for her that she doesn't chase the Fey March and chase all the rabbit holes over there.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, just sometimes it's good to be lucky. Sometimes it's as they say, sometimes be lucky than to be good. And with how this flag is turning out to be, we can be as efficient as we want, but if the kind of checks that we are doing or have to do are kind of works in our favor, that's a good enough for most runners, and Korgs is finding out that yes, there's still at least the Baron key to be looking for, and this also might mean more checking a lot more. So probably be going to D Lunar's room before visiting D Lunar's room, maybe doing so it depends if we find if the Legend Sword is found. That finding Legend Sword won't change the equation. We still want to find the Baron key, because if the Legend Sword is on the way, this will favor Korgs quite a bit. So we'll see what the remaining 2 boss checks for 3 key items will turn out to be.
Yep, the Baron key. The Legend Sword is one of 2 locations, somewhere up here on the moon or behind the Baron key. So it really comes down to, in the next 5 minutes or so, when we get a few of these checks out of the way, we will know who has. At least we will know where go mode is. We will know who will be in go mode, and we will know who will have a decisive lead in this situation. But right now, it's anybody's game. ULTROS is chasing her objective. I really, really like the play here. She faded that Fade March early on. She is committing to her fade, and that is a sign of an experienced and mature runner. And I am here for it. By all means, just chase those objectives, get these 2 key item checks out of the way. They're quick, they're easy. Korgs, however, through the ribbon room, 2 key item checks here. If we see a Legend Sword, then we know ULTROS is heading down the wrong direction.
And then, well, we have determined it's there. The key item is there. Korgs will still likely do Ogo before going to the Mur altar, so that will be time consumed. That could be made up. Right now, we know ULTROS will still, while completely the objective, will not find the Legend Sword here. So, but hey, when you're doing your objective, you're not behind if you're doing your objective.
So the gamble didn't pay off for ULTROS, and that's unfortunate. I still really, really like the play. You have a huge opportunity to gain a huge lead by fading a ton of stuff on the moon. But yeah, leaving 4 key item checks on the moon can come back to bite you, and in this situation, it did. Korg is not quite yet in go mode. He is 1 key item away, which is the Baron key up at the Murasame altar. There is the possibility that microKorgs could decide, I'm going to chase my objective. I'm going to chase that Luca key. Maybe the Baron key's down there. I don't think he will. I think he'll likely finish up the moon because he don't want to come back, especially when you don't have a pass in hand. And we will see shortly if he made that decision. But if he finds that Baron key, he can be done relatively quickly. He's already completed the giant.
Yeah, I mean, Gomo is just a matter of time. So at least cleaning up LST, once you find the Baron key, it's it. So, and I mean, this turtle, while pretty strong, and Fu's gonna take a nap, but we're way on power overwhelming. I thought for a moment there, I had a moment where I thought Edward. No, it's Edward. Yeah, you you don't want to have a character that will take essentially a big bang and take a nap. And even with adamant armor, you're gambling. You can only survive that for nerfed round one. When even though you have power armor, you don't want the chance that a quick nap on an unfortunate turn will slow you down. And no, it's White Shield don't need that. Our White Wizard already has adamant. We don't need that. Power Shirt, adamant armor. Fu will have the curse ring. Whatever, it's fine. We're moving forward with that. And Baron Guard's taking over. I don't remember which. Oh no, this is Odin spot. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I mean, you've done essentially the LST grind, which is pretty much visiting a fair chunk of the LST. So that's usually more than enough to take on the Odin spot.
Sadly for ULTROS, not rewarded with a Legend Sword here. She'll likely finish up the Liberation of Baron. Won't find her Legend Sword either, so she really needs to dive back down to that ribbon room. She's not going to feel incentivized to do it. She's committed to a lot of phase this seed. One of them, unfortunately, came back to bite her in the butt, but she's going to have to head back down eventually, and for her sake, I hope that she chooses the moon over the Fade March. microKorgs, however, deciding not to fade that Murasame altar, will be rewarded with his Baron Key relatively soon, and will be in his go mode.
Yeah, usually, and fading the ribbon room spot usually is I would have a hard time wanting to fade the ribbon rune. Like
it's bold, but sometimes you have to make bold action.
That is true. You have to gamble, and that gamble isn't wasn't it's gonna change things. But that's you sometimes the gamble you make is the gamble you kind of fall on the sword on, and that's okay. It's tempting. There's too many places to go and you're still going to end up doing effectively a 17 out of 17 seed in key items. I mean, it's completionist. It's going to happen. So sometimes works out, sometimes not, and we'll get a Kane that will be betrayed because everyone else is stronger than he is and not worth the time. We don't want a character at this point.
Nope, the party is set for both of our players. I don't believe ULTROS will pick up that Cecil after completing the Giant, as she's got her grind taken care of already. Meanwhile, I can see why Korgs did that Giant early now. There was always the potential for the Cecil. The Cecil hit, and you got all the grind you needed up there on the moon, completing your objective and completing a few optional locations, like the Ribbon Room, or ended up not being optional, but he thought it could have been optional. Regardless, his Cecil now, high enough level, well over 2,000 HP, far more survivable than Edward, and doing as much, if not more, damage than Edward would have with that spoon. So an excellent trade on Korg's part. He has his Baron Key. He's in go mode. He's going to go finish up Baron Liberation. He's going to go finish up the Luca Key, find his path, and be on his way to finish this seed very shortly.
Looks like ULTROS is going to cash in on the pink tail. I'm not sure, going for the rec tail for maybe another key item. I think let's try to count. Oh yeah, probably you'll trade in the rat tail to get back the harp for the 10th key item. But I guess we're not doing that. We're more in the muff levels. Maybe you may want to think of doing that. I don't know. At this point, probably not necessary. But if there were less levels, trading in the rat tail for the harp, even if we know what the result is, but getting the double XP would have been worth it. But again, the time.
ULTROS did that 10 or 11 km, so she's good. But come on, ULTROS, go to the moon. Go to the moon. Don't go to Fade March.
Well, I think this is right now a matter of convenience. When you're chasing for, you're thinking, could it be behind Tower Key? Could it be behind Pan? Yeah, you're already here. It's like you kind of committed. It's not a good feeling knowing that it could be Moon or here, and did you fade Moon too fast? And it's those decisions that were made. So yeah, I think it's a good time that to mention who's part of Restream team. Cubs roll on the restream. JMech on tracking, pushing buttons because I can't keep track of everything. And my co-commentator Rybon, please check on their Twitter feed, Twitch stream. Sorry. Yeah.
I appreciate the shout out and appreciate the analysis and knowledge that you bring to this game, Deathlike. It's very useful and very interesting information. Heading back to the game, Korgs is done with the Mom Bomb spot. We'll be likely heading on down to the Odin throne. So, in Korg's position, what do you think? Do you liberate Baron, or do you just walk out the way you came in through the Baron sewer?
I'm always for just punch your way out. It feels like, I know I'm sure it might be a little bit shorter, but like, I mean, you're here, you might as well. I mean, you got in here from the back door, you might as well punch your way through the front door. I mean, you might get something that you might be worthwhile, and we know it's the pink tail. We're not going to trade it in, but if we do, that's just icing on this power overwhelming cake.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The pink tail is probably a little less interesting to Korgs, but that path is still outstanding. We know it's in Luca Cave, but Korgs doesn't know that. I agree, he very well may just punch his way out of Baron here, sit through that cutscene, because it could be a pass. Whether he turned in that pink tail or not, though, I don't know.
Probably not. We're power overwhelming. And obviously we're still looking for a pass. No one wants to walk LST from the beginning, and after full clearing it. I mean, that walk, I'm sure it's been clocked. It's probably twice the amount of time than going directly to Troy and turning in the pass. I mean, that's at least that's what my math says. If there's a key item available, why not? Right now it's just like, what, at least from Korg's side, it's just 50-50. It's a pass or it's a pink tail, and so you might as well.
I believe it's been timed, and having the pass versus walking down the LST saved you about 2 to 2.5 minutes. Wrong turn, unfortunately, Korgs, but push B to jump is not on. However, I think we will see him walk on out. That's a very interesting choice. It's going to actually end up being the right choice for Korgs because he doesn't want that pigtail. He doesn't care too much. He wants the path, and he is now banking that path is over in Luca Cave, and he will be correct.
It's just a sad moment. I'm gonna walk all the way out. It's whatever. It's not too many runners are used to walking the same way they came back in. I mean, there are times in Lunar Terrain where you don't have a source of exit, and you might not even have warp available. There's a reason why having a mage or of some sort in the early game will save you time, and although I think in this passage you can't really warp your way out either. Like you can't even use exit, can't even use warp. You're full hard required walking if you're gonna go that way out. Those are kind of disappointing moments, but it happens.
So Korg is getting his forge out of the way. Very wise, because often I will walk up and complete an objective and then expect a crystal. I'm like, oh crap, wait, I didn't forge. You don't really need the Excal here. I mean, you don't really need an additional dart at this point, but you do need to actually do this to complete the objective. I wonder if Korg will actually shop at Coco's shop. Very nice items for sale here, but I can't really think of anything he actually needs in this situation.
At this point, not really. You have a power overwhelming armor. Don't really care about Fu. I mean, he's gonna be the anchor. I mean, unless you look, and probably got a life staff along the way, so we can do some healing. I mean, what do you need? What more do you really need at this point? If you're power overwhelming, shopping is super optional. It's probably not even on anyone's mind at that point.
Korgs is saying, capitalism, no. We are heading down Luca Cave. We are going to get our crystal after completing this final objective. Korgs will be very pleased to find the pass down here. And yeah, we'll be seeing Zeromus very shortly.
Some Baron Kaipo guards action. It's kind of funny when when the officer shouts into the void for his dead guards to attack. Yeah, that's one of the core features of Final Fantasy IV ATB system, where if you're already queued up, you've already committed to your command. You don't really get to switch commands in the middle of an already queued up thing where you think he would just escape. No, it's still queued. He'll still shout. So it works. It works like when they're stopped, or where they still take their turn before they freeze into place. It's kind of a unique functionality of the ATB, really. I think it's probably the first ATB in the FF series, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, things get fixed over time. It gets better.
So as we've seen, ULTROS on her side has decided to double back to Feymarch, found that tower key, went up the tower the second time, is now completing this check, will be rewarded with a pan, and unfortunately we know this pan leads to nowhere. It leads to a sand ruby, which, yeah, not exactly what she's looking for. So she'll be back on the moon shortly, I'm sure, and we'll find that legend sword, and we'll be finishing up her seed momentarily. But as it is now, I think it's pretty safe to say that Korgs has a bit of a lead.
I think that even with the sand ruby might actually take a look. I don't know. You already have your anchor. I mean, the only character that really would upgrade you would be Fu, and which happens to be who's in bed. So I mean, not that could potentially be routed in. We'll see. Not because we have to show up on the overworld to complete the pan checks, which are being completed now.
And at 133, Korgs has completed his objective. He has his crystal in hand. He is likely very happy to find that path at the very last location that he is going to be checking for a key item. And off to Troya he goes, warping on out of this Luca cave. Meanwhile, ULTROS heading over to Fabul, turning in that pan, hoping, praying, give me a legend sword, please. I need a legend sword. But unfortunately, prayers will not be answered today.
Yeah, while being in the LST for a second time, we'll find, but then also go back. We'll have to go back to do Forge. It's gonna feel bad. So that's a lot of that's a lot of time consumed. Given that especially with the chains, it's we're set out of that. We're not wasting our time trading in the Sand Ruby. But we're not looking for a character. Yeah, it's that moment. So it's time to go back to the moon. But while one runner's going to the moon, the other one will also warp to the moon directly to Z. Do not pass go. It's a one-way trip, and it's that time again, right? It's time of the match. There were some flags show up, right? Z's everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and he likes to also cosplay. Ravanda, do you know what this means? What time it is?
I mean, we're actually on I thought you knew, but we're actually on an episode of Sesame Street right now, and everyone's saying what their favorite letter is. Mine is not Z, but Chad seems to overwhelmingly support the 26th letter of the alphabet. But no, in fact, it's time for Zeromus, and Zeromus, as you mentioned, likes to cosplay. He attends anime conventions all the time. He has over 500 different anime get-ups to put on, courtesy of Scala Kitty, our resident art director. And upon throwing the crystal, we are going to see Zeromus don one of those. So the question we'd like to ask in this part of the race is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And is it cute?
Does it have a butt?
Does it have multiple butts? These questions and more will be answered in 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, Valis is over there.
Well, Val does Val things, and we get, hey, it's the Dalton Plus, because Chrono Trigger, good time, had by many, good times.
Yeah, is this the largest Z sprite? It very well could be, and that's an excellent cosplay, by the way. But this should be relatively simple for Korgs. Look at those HP levels. Tons of equipment, tons of magic defense, tons of offense. We are going to see the power of a very angry Cecil, a very angry and darting Edge. This Dalton Plus is not long for the world.
I think he was just kind of like a, I don't know, kind of a fun boss. It's like it's more of a what was it? Slapstick humor, I guess. It's what it's like. I've never thought the whole Dalton thing is in Chrono Trigger was he was an amusing character, but he didn't do anything special. But he was kind of funny when he showed up in Chrono Trigger. But this fight will plays pretty fast. Occasional nuke, certainly the occasional emergency healing, but let berserkers do berserker things. Well, in other games where you're able to take turns, it's action economy, as they call it. Time saved while not having to do extra work. But in this case, those are turns we're taking. If you had to hit A manually, it's time taken, and you don't want food to be punching things, because that's time wasted for the animation to deal that damage. So letting berserk characters do their thing is probably the best thing you could do.
Yep, so there's many ways to kill Zeromus. They all involve making his HP go to 0. But the one we're seeing today is actually a little different. We have berserkers, of course, but Edge throwing everything, the kitchen sink, rather than being berserked himself. Throw the hand axe. No, the gun here? All right, that's fine too. But doing a ton of damage. We're already in Meteor phase. Rocks are falling. Everybody dies. Actually, nobody dies. And with that, microKorgs has killed Daltonmus with an official time of coming up eventually. But regardless, congratulations to microKorgs for winning the race today against ULTROS PROFESSIONAL, going 1-0 in his group and doing a fantastic job there. It is the official time of 1:38:23. GG to microKorgs.
Yes, certainly GG to microKorgs. Just one thing about the Avenger, and I think we'll do that for a little bit later. GG's again, microKorgs.
Korgs, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Deathlike and Rybon. Yeah, thanks for all the Cubs. I'd like to thank you for not only restreaming, but rolling a seed where we had a lot of power pretty early, and then I could kind of hold out for that Cecil later and get the job done.
So walk me through your decision to hit that giant before hitting the moon. Were you looking for a Cecil? Were you just holding out hope he was up there, or something else?
Yeah, I figured I was definitely strong enough to do it, and I'm always looking for a Cecil, especially when I had an Excal and the Adamant waiting for him. I knew that would just trivialize kind of the rest of anything I had to do on the moon. It would get Rosa to astoundingly high levels, and I was just kind of pleasantly surprised just how easy the giant ended up being, basically a free giant. So yeah, and then I was very happy to see the Paladin stride into the collapsing giant.
So,
Sure.
Yeah. There was an interesting decision. I think you went to Feymarch and decided, hey, I want to take on both the King Queen Emblem slot. I think the Odin, the Thunderclaw, that was easy. Just take us through, and why would you do that, even though I think what ended up being is essentially a rabbit hole.
It's just to get it done. I just felt I was strong enough. I was happy. in my head at Zot when I saw Young. I knew I wasn't taking Young, but I thought, you better check to see what he has, because I too often just, as quick as I can, dismiss the character, don't take their stuff, and I was pretty happy that he had a Thunderclaw. And then I think I had the Adamant at that point. And I knew I could get through both bosses. That way I would never have to come back again and not have to wonder as I'm doing stuff on the moon, hey, was my solution the whole time down in Fey March. So I was pretty happy to find the tower key, and that informed the routing after that.
So you found that Adamant relatively early, checking that one chest in the Catho Emblem and just heading on out. You decided to put on Rosa. Why did you pick that of all of your potential characters?
I sometimes have a trouble deciding early. I figured Edge, I think at that point I had the Power Shirt and the Zeus Gauntlet, so he was well defended, and sure, it would make him a lot stronger, but I also wanted her to survive and get levels, and eventually I was hoping I would find the Cecil, and then I would just do the swap at that point, and if the Adamant glitch and the elemental weaknesses came back to bite me, then so be it, but I figured I'd be strong enough it wouldn't matter.
Clearly paid off. So tell me more about the early game, however. You had a ton of power early on. Were you feeling very confident heading down that hook route?
Yeah, for sure. I did the early loot at in Eblin, and it was kind of interesting that all the chests ended up being on one side, so it was kind of like a minefield when I got to the eastern tower there, and I was just looking for something for anything for Edge, and I think back to back I had Power Shirt, Assassin Dagger, and I said, okay, that's enough, I'll come back later, maybe, to look for the better stuff in the traps now that I kind of know at least the area that they're in. So yeah, that early Eblin wasn't too strong, and then of course you get the spoon, I think, from Antlion, and Eddie was going to be my anchor. I think I put him down on Hobbs, and then I said, okay, I guess you get to remain upright. And yeah, so that was kind of fun, having the two Eds, Ed Geraldine and Eddie. They're functioning almost like a tag team in how well we got through that overworld with both of them.
Any thoughts of taking the Porum, or do you just hope, like you took the package character and that was Porum, and I assumed you just didn't thought that you could have probably found a better mage than Porum at the time, because that could have been your early white mage, and obviously you found Rosa later on.
I feel it's too long for a Porum. That was really just is that a Foo check? Maybe a Cecil, though. Even at the time, if it was Cecil, I might not have taken him right away. Really, that's Foo, because Foo's too big to not take the moment that you have him available. So I'm kind of prioritizing his new character. Checks open up going there first if I don't have the super strong party yet. I think that's why I went to the moon early, saw the Tella, and then that kind of went from there.
Korgs, you did a great job tonight. Who do you have your next race scheduled yet? And if so, who is it? When?
I think the next one scheduled might be next Sunday against Commander Leonhardt, but there's probably a good chance that maybe I'll be able to schedule one for the upcoming week before then. Just haven't nailed down the details yet. So, yeah, hopefully this next week I get at least 2 more in, and then wrap it up the week after. But we'll see. We'll see how the schedule goes.
Well, you folks at home heard it here first. You need to keep an eye on that schedule if you want more microKorgs.
How much microKorgs does a person need, though, really?
I mean, how much can I get?
That's a good question. I guess I'll have to get back to you on that. And I guess you're getting, at least 4 more races, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yep, and we'll see if you do another Final Four run this particular tournament.
that would be pretty amazing. One race at a time, one race, one seed at a time, one input at a time. Got to take it day by day and stay within my abilities. I've run out of sports cliches, so I think that's about it for me. Thank you so much for doing the comms, Deathlike and Rybon. Thanks, JMac, on the buttons, and I already thanked Cubs, so I'm not going to thank him again.
Yeah, don't give him a big head. But thank you, Corey, for racing tonight, and it was a great time watching it.
Have a good night.
GG's again. And looks like Ultros has completed the giant run. So and eating the Cecil that just found. So time to time to go directly to Troya to turn in the pass. Oh, we still have the forge. Oh, well, okay.
Yep. Don't forget the forge now.
That's right. Can't soft lock yourself without the crystal. You need. You can soft lock yourself. You can go through the door with the pass, but you can't put the cosplay on Zeromus if you don't have the crystal.
Yep, I've certainly never done that before. Nope, not me. But yeah, we're going to be done with our forge very shortly. Ultros, as you mentioned, decided to yeet the Cecil. Too late for you at this point. So we will be going into the Z fight with a different set. Edward, lower HP Edward instead of high HP Cecil. Might be a little more challenging for Ultros. It'll be interesting to see how she handles the situation.
I would actually take a look at the shop to see if there's apples, and it does not look like, because you need to buy the apples for Edward to potentially not take a nap. If you probably want to reach at least above 1200 for the first Big Bang nerf. Otherwise, Edward might have a. I didn't catch how much HP Edward have, but if we're doing power overwhelming, it should be. And I think Edward does have the adamant, so the chances of taking the full 1200 damage blast is mitigated. You should be able to nerf at least one, and Edward should be upstanding, but we'll see. So that's rando be rando. Don't try not to. 1700. That's fine. That's more than enough for power overwhelming berserker run. You can just maybe just use use Fu as the healer and Berserk Rosa if we wanted to jam the queue a little bit more.
Yep, that is one very healthy bard. Apples not required, but courtesy of all that lovely XP that we had up there on the relatively free giant. So yeah, it is time for Ultros to head on up to the Romith, throw the crystal, and save the day as well. However, Ultros, there's a couple differences as we mentioned. We do have a bard instead of a paladin in this situation, and we also have 2 adamant armors on Ultros' side. Ultros having found that pigtail by completing Baron Liberation and turning it in. So we may see some much higher numbers out of Ultros' side, especially if she decides to berserk up her edge as well.
I think I would say it's probably a little more efficient to just the berserk edge, especially I think we have like a pair of Great Hanzo, so should make short work of any boss, not just the Ramus. So yeah, that's probably more enough. Even though you probably have plenty small number of excals to dart around, we'll see. At least Edward's definitely going to get the berserk. Edge, yeah, it could always be a toss up. It's easy if you're worried about your amount of darts that you have left. Berserking edge would be just good enough for completing the fight.
Yep, Crystal Throne on Ultros' side, and here comes Jalton for round 2. I don't think it's going to fare much better this time around either.
Yeah. So, watching this go. Let's just go up. We're gonna do a nurse through Silk Web. Always very handy for any boss, not just Z, but any boss. If Silk Web has double the power of regular slow, and ideally you want to avoid using if you're trying to like generate the Big Bang nerf, you do not want to use a heal item, as heal, one of the not so widely known side effect is to reset the effect of slow or haste. Any agility manipulation. So slow. Only one cast of slow effectively reduces your Z's, or at least any target's ATB by like a quarter, and it becomes 1/2 for the second cast. So you want to slow twice or use a Silk Web. If you want to make any more difficult bosses a bit easier to deal with.
We're seeing Berserker Strats on full display here on Ultros' side. Look at that Edward hitting with a spoon, hitting for over 5,000 damage a swing. I don't want to be in the kitchen with that bard.
It's not the kitchen sink. Only Edge can throw the kitchen sink. We don't have a kitchen sink. Why don't we have a kitchen sink? That's my question.
I mean, there could be a kitchen sink bus. I just haven't seen it yet, with over 500 million sprites available. Who knows? There could be anything in there. But we're already in rocks. We didn't even see a second Big Bang. This is just waiting for a couple more swings, and we will be through. In fact, just one more swing is all we needed. And ULTROS Professional is through, complete with her seed, at a time of about, 1 hour, 51 minutes, and a few seconds. So well done to her. GG, 1:51:26, the official time. Congratulations on completing her seed, and we'll see if we can get her in for an interview shortly. And that ding in my ear tells me that we are joined by ULTROS Professional. Congratulations on your race. And how are you feeling about that seed?
Hey, thanks so much. I'm feeling great about that seed. I'm really, really happy with how I played. Yeah, it's like I've made a few gambles to risk it for the biscuit kind of thing, but they didn't pay off. But I'm real for full clearing the seed and still coming within like 15 minutes of a player like Korgs. Like I'm so proud of that. That rules. Like I'm glad I played so well, and yeah, couldn't be happy with how that went.
I mean, you did a great job representing the Pink Puffs tonight. I know that you're a Pink Puff, finished top 10 in the last season, and hopefully we'll see more of you in both this tournament and the Pink Puff League going forward. But you're right, you made a ton of gambles, and most of them paid off for you, really. Fading Fade March paid off. Fading that Fabul defense check paid off. When you were heading down the hook route without having done Fabul defense, I'm like, she doesn't know that could be a Magma Key. Ended up not being. And yeah, you're right. I was really actually just pulling for that huge moon fade you made to pull off.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't today.
Yeah, that was the one that got me. If I just it really hurt that the Legend Sword was literally next door, but that's how it is. And I figured like it's no secret I'm kind of, I guess, one of the weaker players in this tournament. And yeah, if I've gonna have any chance against, like people in my group, we've got Korgs, we've got Rex Banner, we've got Dusty. Like if I'm gonna have any chance at these races, I've just got to make some wild gambles, is the way I see it. So that was it. I got two really handy key items on the moon anyway, and I figured, okay, odds are pretty good that there's more stuff on Earth, So, but there was just one thing missing.
As they say, you play to win the game, and that's exactly what you did tonight. Take me through the early game. You found that adamant armor relatively early. You found it earlier than microKorgs did, and in fact, he may have not gone back to find it, but did just before the hook route. I gave you a rather nice advantage heading through the overworld. Did you feel ahead at that point?
Yeah, I felt good about that, especially considering like starting with Edge. I thought, okay, whoever's on Hobbs, we can probably beat them. If we need AOE, we've got Flame, and if we need power, we can leverage that a little bit. So I've decided to do Hobbs and Antline first, just because like they'll be quick regardless. And yeah, that really paid off. Finding that spoon at Antline was like, okay, cool. We've got Spoonwood. This means we can do some trap chests. And yeah, luckily spiked the Adamant in the first trap chest. And yeah, I was feeling really good about that. And I love these flags. These flags are awesome. And putting the Adamant on Spoonwood makes him such a viable player. And just as an aside, I hope I'm making Asuka proud by giving Eddie some time on the screen.
Eddie,
I'm sure you're making her very proud.
I mean, Eddie was getting plenty of time for this seed. I mean, couldn't like you saw the first strongest character literal for the bulk of the seed is literally Edward. I mean,
yeah.
Who could say no to that? You had the spoon,
Yeah.
you had Adamant. There's nothing. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and just getting really lucky as well. Like, I think it was in Zot, I spiked the second Masa. So it's like, okay, cool. We have a real Zerg party here. This is fine. It's just about which checks I choose at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure I can overcome most challenges. Yeah.
So was I in the mid game? I think you decided to go after doing the hook route to immediately do tower keyless tower.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that? Because you saw the king queen, the free king queen Evelyn at
Yeah, I saw that, and it was like, okay, great, like that's a free fight, and more so, it's not a standard play, so like I think it dropped something kind of good. Was it the rat tail, and so then I immediately like, okay, that's an out. Like if I do this and it leads to, something we need, leads to an objective, that's probably a few minutes ahead kind of thing. So that was the play there, just like metagaming stuff. Like this is not a standard play, so I'll do it because it might pay off.
In other seeds, it probably would have. This one, not so much. I mean, I think Zot in general was kind of the rabbit the dual rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a few rabbit holes in there, and it's a bit of a shame. Like, like bailing from the moon, I had so many checks on Earth, and yeah, I felt pretty good about it. But like rando's gonna rando. That's it. But I'm really happy. This is the first time I've come in the top 3 of any race. So to come second is great.
Well, you have a fantastic attitude about this, and yeah, top 2 is fantastic, of course. But I just want to say that you made the right plays today. I mean, they didn't work out for you, but you do have to make risks. You have to make gambles in order to win tournaments, and you committed to those risks. You committed to those gambles. They didn't pay off, but I just want to emphasize: continue doing those in the future. That is how you beat opponents that whether you think you should beat them or not. I mean, if I was up against a Pancrath, for example, I'd be doing exactly the same thing as you. So, absolutely keep it up.
That's really good to know, Rybon. I love that.
But speaking of future races, do you have a future race scheduled already?
Yeah, look, I'm in a funny time zone. I'm a +11 GMT here in Melbourne, Australia. So I've had to be a bit proactive about finding times with everyone. So they're all booked out so far. But next Friday night your time, Saturday morning my time, I'm up against Leggy, and then there's Commander Leonhardt Saturday night your time, Sunday morning my time.
I'll be looking forward to both of those races.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, it's a really lovely group that we're in, the Dragoon Helm group, as brutal as it is. I think all of these groups have got absolute killers in them, so it's good, and it's kind of, I've run in ZZ4 before, and in the group I didn't qualify, but like that's a really fun experience, being in a race with like 100 people. But it's I think a completely other thing to really be racing one-on-one with like some of these really top players. It's a really awesome experience. So I'm loving it already.
Well, good stuff. Any final comments before we kick off a raid to our next Adamant Cup group race this evening?
Oh, just thanks everyone who's putting in all the work to put this on. Just everyone from the Restream team and UMob commentating and Charla and the whole crew. It's just so cool that people find all this time to do such an awesome thing. I love this community, and thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks for being restreamed and volunteering and all that. We hope to see you next time.
Catch you next time.
GG's again, ULTROS.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm really happy with that.
All right, with that, I believe we're going to kick off to RPG Limit Break, which is currently hosting LSL and Dia in their match. So, of course, no spoilers or anything like that. We will see you next time. And for all of us here at the Restream team, JMac tracking, Cubs rolling this fantastic seed, and Deathlike being here in the booth with me. Appreciate you watching, and yeah, see you next time.
See you all next seed. And yep, don't spoil it.